I just a couple of hours ago just posted up a story that saying as social as I am and as open-minded as I am, I never thought in a million years that I'd become quiet and introvert.
Well,
So
I mean, I understand. I understand where you are. I'm definitely not an introvert, but people would think that because I kind of proceed with caution nowadays. That
don't we all have to though?
well, I'm an acquired taste. So, sometimes I just say something crazy and, I let the chips fall where they may, but, I mean well. So, I rubbed a lot of people the wrong way with my personality.
Yeah, so did I. I've burned lot of bridges out here.
Uh,
And this
hey,
is both in the workplace, socially speaking. Um, I just burnt a lot of bridges by simply being me.
well,
So,
the world is bigger than Connecticut, so there's a whole world out there waiting for you. But anyhow, all right, so let's get to the menu today. I asked all that because I was trying to segue into this because I was going to say like, what is the ideal leader of a country?
okay.
Just
So,
so like just on just basic. You got to have a love for the country and the people that you're serving. And I kind of believe that Putin has a love for his country.
yeah, he does.
So what did you get from that interview?
Well, first thing is that he was speaking on what he wanted to speak on, and he if there's certain things he didn't want to display, he wasn't going to display it. That was quite obvious. Um, he has like he has a slick mouth a little bit. The way his
Yeah,
sarcasm is really nice. Um, he loves Russia, and as far as he's concerned with Ukraine aspect of it, he feels that Ukraine should have stayed together with Russia. That's like one thing. And then with Ukraine getting their own identity, getting a separate language, he's not with that. And um, I think he's. I assume he plays chess because he's playing chess in real life. Like the way he moves, he's not stupid. Um, he's very particular. He doesn't just trust anybody. Um, I think he's a good man. I think it goes. You know that saying, it's one thing to be nice, but it's better to be good. I'm saying it wrong, but you know what I'm saying. Like when
it's,
somebody like I don't want to be nice, or I'm not nice. I'm a good person. I think that explains him in a nutshell. Hmm?
I'm kind. I'm not nice.
No, I'm a good person. I'm not nice.
I never heard that, but I mean,
Something I'm saying it wrong, but it's a real. Instead of being nice to everybody, because when you're being nice, there are times where with I mean being nice is a good thing, but there are times where you're being a people pleaser and it doesn't work out very well, right?
yeah,
But when you're a good person that you could be kind or you could be good to others, but you're mostly being good to yourself. And I think that's the qualities that Putin has. Similar to Trump, like I can
yeah,
help out other countries, but my country comes first. I can help my neighbors, but my household comes first. That kind of a mentality. And all men should be that way.
yeah. That's what I kind of got from the interview because like he was going into like some specifics of the history, so he has a strong sense of heritage. You know that. That's a good thing. I think that's a
That
good
that
thing.
that plays a big part
Yeah,
because
because
he got to the root in the history of everything. Because even remember that part when Tucker was like, "Why are you telling me about this history or whatever?" He had to tell him that because it explains why he feels the way he feels and why he moves the way he moves.
yeah, but I just found it odd that I found it so odd that a lot of a lot of people were mad at Donald Trump for wanting to put America first, as it's some kind of thing that's wrong. And these were black people too. Like It's like talking
It
about
was a
America
mix.
first.
It wasn't just black. It was also white. It was just Americans.
You
Period.
know, white white liberals are not real people. They're not serious because everything that they prescribe pills that they would never take themselves.
Exactly.
So
Just like the
I'm
Indians.
just like, you people are not serious. But like
No.
they were black people were for real. You know, they were actually they were like they didn't even understand like if America falls, nigga, you fall too. Like you're gonna
Well, they
fall.
got it. They going back to Africa though.
Man, shit, don't get me started on that. Like,
They
don't
going to Nigeria. They going to
yeah,
Scammerland.
you think they think the hood is rough here? Like they ain't seen. I don't know. They people have this crazy concept of like the world outside of America. Like it is not what people think. Like most of the world is poor. You know, America, we have so much freedom here, and we just give it away. You know,
Mhm.
but you know, with Trump, you know, the fact that he wanted to make America a producer, you know that when you notice that when Trump was in office, the dollar had more strength because we were producing. The production caught up, you know, with the inflation, and we can still do that, you know. So his policies that made us producers, you know, made us exporters of oil, you know, that strengthened the economy, thus, and it strengthened the dollar, and it made more money flow into the economy, and you know when
Yeah,
Biden,
through trade and commerce and everything.
yeah, and you know when Biden came and he killed all that in the name of environmental justice, that kind of screwed a lot of
Literally
people.
reversed. Like as soon as he sat down, I want transgenders to go. Like I want men to go into females' bathrooms and the pipeline.
Yeah, and you know that more so dipped the morale of the country, but
Yeah.
you know the fact that the economy was so strong, and you know we were producing so much. If they never orchestrated COVID, I mean, it would be buck wild up in America. You know, with the economic prosperity we'd be experiencing, because you know when they printed all that money and they shut down production. I mean that probably set us back like 50 years. You know, they say that 80% of the money in circulation was printed in 2020 and 2021 with those COVID spending bills. And you know, I say that COVID was an economic hit job.
Absolutely.
You know, and then and you know, because I don't, like I said, COVID is not. I don't. In fact, I know it's not a real thing. Like it's. I mean, we could talk about that later, but you know, HIV ain't a real thing neither. You know, AIDS is real, but HIV is not. But
Really?
yeah, AIDS is real, and AIDS doesn't come from sex. It comes from malnourishment. You know, they were talking about like AIDS is high in Africa.
That's I was just about to say like Africa.
Yeah, because the people ain't eating. They're,
Yeah.
that's the only.
I just see that you got this title Cold War
Yeah,
World.
yeah. It's a cold world, but we're in a cold war though.
We are.
Yeah, so with Putin, he has a sense of tradition, and what he was saying about NATO, how NATO kind of how they were just screwing around, and they didn't want to let Russia in to NATO, but see, NATO is backing Ukraine, and Ukraine and Russia share a border, so there's a conflict of interest there because whatever Ukraine is doing is against the Russian interests. So instead of just letting that slide, he's like, you know what, if if they're not gonna comply with the conditions, then let's just go ahead and annex them. So that whole conflict, it's kind of like having a neighbor. It's kind of like having a neighbor that is that you lease the house to, and they're kind of like messing up. So you're like, okay, well, you know what? I'm gonna take the house back, and I'm sure that there are people on the other side that actually are not, they're not siding with the Ukraine interests. There's some people that probably want Russia to come and annex them. I don't know, but I just think as men, men need to understand household first.
Yes.
Every country, every country is is a is a macrocosm of a household. That's what economy means. Economy means the order of the house. The law of the house. So when we have like a whole economy, that is the order of our nation state. You know, so when you're the head of a household, you have to understand all the dealings within your household, and you gotta understand the people in your household. They have to eat because they are a reflection of your leadership. And if you neglect them, then you are a poor leader. And that's what we have now. We have in this country, we have poor, I don't want to say leaders, but we have poor representatives because the interests, our interests that they're supposed to be representing and advocating for, they're doing is they're representing the interests of corporations and really evil people that are trying to subvert our society. With all that ESG scores and all that, the DIE or the DEI or whatever. Um they're really just killing the morale of the people. So you got to ask yourself, like, why is the government backing these policies that creates these conditions within these corporations? And that's why people would say, like, oh, capitalism is not good. Well, the same capitalism that they're complaining about is actually the thing that they advocate for. They want the government and the corporate world to not be one, but they're using the arm of the government.
To capitalize.
They're using the arm of the government to control
Mm-hmm.
corporations. So it's like it's a product of people's ignorance of how things work in this nation. So
And isn't that the epitome of the Cold War? What really like started it?
yeah,
Capitalism versus communism,
well,
like capitalism here in America versus the Soviet Union with communism.
yeah. About well, let me look up the definition of a Cold War, because I think a Cold War is pretty much just an information
It
war.
pretty much started after World War II. Pretty, it kind of like branched into that in the late 40s under President Truman, and it was about like you keep the capitalism here in America. It was basically the East versus the West.
Yeah, it was a battle for hegemony, because you don't want communism to be the
The forefront of
yeah, you
everything.
don't want it to
It's
be the
kind of prevention of one world order. So it's funny that you have Cold War as the title. Uh, do you think, because supposedly the Cold War supposedly ended in 1991, supposedly with the Soviet Union, but do you feel like it never ended? Like it started in the late 1940s and then it ended in 1991. Like it did away, like just like I said, with the Soviet Union. Do you think it like left and came back, or do you think it just never
I think
ended?
it never ended. I think that it ended, it gave the semblance of ending because America was infiltrated by a bunch of communists. That's and then once they toppled the Soviet Union, then it was kind of like, okay, well, we got we our now our power is unchecked, because was always, the threat was always like
Mm-hmm.
nuclear war. And one thing I understand about rich people never fight each other. They send they pay poor people to fight for them. So I don't think that USA and the USSR was ever gonna like nuke each other. Like that would have been nuts. Like they would have wiped out the
It would have
world
wiped
if
out the
yeah,
world. Exactly.
that had happened. And
Even right now,
yeah, and
you
I
know,
our armor,
it'll be over.
yeah, like our armory, like we can turn whole areas into a crater. So to have that kind of destruction, like I
It's
don't know
over.
what they do is they'll fund these proxy wars. They'll send they'll pick on these little struggling nations, and they'll stir up tension in those regions, and they'll fight over territory, because when you remove a regime, that creates a power vacuum. You know, it's kind of what they did with Gaddafi. They killed Gaddafi. Now they have what they have. They have all these. They got all these pirates, these slavery. That whole region was destabilized, and you got all these warlords running it. And if that region is destabilized, then somebody can just come in and siphon off the resources. That's really what this is all about. All war is about economy, resources out
Yeah.
are
Mm-hmm.
are
And trade.
exchange. You
Yep.
know, that's that's what this is all about. In my, that's how I see it. I'm sure it's a lot more intricate than that, but at the end of the day, it's all a fight for like territory and resources. So
Yes. That's what it's all about. It
yeah,
really
but
is.
you I just we have to take our government back because we are literally communist.
You feel like America is already communist?
Yeah. Do
Because
you
I
know?
remember I messaged you a couple of weeks ago, and I was saying that we're a third world country, and you kind of disagreed with me a little bit.
No, we're not third world yet. We're like second world. We're like second and a half world. Hold on, let me see. Taxes, federal taxes. I'm gonna look up something right quick. Uh, state.
But you feel like for certain we're communist.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Um,
During COVID or even before COVID, do you think we
well,
were
definitely
communist?
socialist.
Definitely socialist.
Socialist.
And is this before the pandemic or just during?
Yeah, look at all these social programs we have. I mean, it, it's when you're able to take money from people and reallocate it elsewhere, what else is that called?
It's equity. Somebody has to
That's
pay.
all socialism.
Yeah, so it's socialism.
Yeah, and they don't even have a say in where it goes.
No.
All right, so check this out.
And it seems like it doesn't work. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, say what you're saying.
Check what? Okay, fine. It seems like, because we're the melting pot in America,
Hmm.
like you would think, okay, yes, we're capitalist, right?
Hmm.
But then with the socialism, you would think it was like a juggle, like capitalism, socialism. But it just seems like we're just railing off into communism. But I think that having different cultures, it also doesn't help in a sense. Not saying that I'm trying to not promote the fact that we have different people from different countries, but when you have the Nordic system in Scandinavia, it works because they're the same people. But it's not going to work anymore because they've submitted to the Western agenda. So, like, you have Sweden, you have Denmark, you have Norway, Finland. They're they were literally scaled capitalism, socialism at the same time. Their taxes were mega high, but it was working because Finland people are Finland people and Sweden or whatever. It's all Iceland. They're all the same people. You get what I'm saying? They're all Scandinavian. And
You
then, but
had
now they're allowing the Indians and the Somalians to come in there, and it's about to tip into communism
there
because it's different cultures. So what I'm saying is in America, like Scandinavia, they have smaller population than us. So that's another, the way things get distributed economically and everything, it just worked. But then they submitted to the globalist agenda, and that's going to tip them into communism. But before they were a very balanced scale. Here in America, as you see, it's all these different groups of people and different crooks, different types of things going on. So everything is out of whack, if that makes sense.
the crooks.
Yeah,
Well,
that's different.
the problem with America is we don't have any identifiable unifying values anymore.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Scandinavia does.
Yeah,
We
the
don't.
unifying that we had, they say that they're racist and they're oppressive and all that shit. So there's always gonna be
It's never ending.
yeah. So there can be no unity. We can't agree on that. We can't agree that this issue is important. So everybody let's contribute to it. And
Let's say the Hispanics. Like, let's say you take a group of Hispanics, right? And I'm not going to take all of them because I know the Caribbean, like the Puerto Ricans and the Dominicans and Cubans, they're different from the Hondurans and Mexicans and Costa Ricans, right? Like the Central Americans, and then they're different from the Peruvians and Ecuadorians and Venezuelans and whatever. So, but typically, when you take these groups of Spanish people and they're kind of operating in a socialist way amongst each other, what do they have? They have community, they have the same language, similar cultural, food and things like that. So if it's 10 Mexicans working at this construction site or whatever the case may be, they're not thinking like, oh, this guy has this guy, he has a BMW, this one has I don't know, all these different type of lavish cars. They pull together. I know the Chinese do that for sure, but whatever, these ethnic groups, what I'm saying is they pull together, they put money together, um and that's what I'm saying. That's what they were doing in Scandinavia. So you can have capitalism and socialism because you're eating together. So it's like, I don't know, somehow the communism or the socialism, it didn't work in Cuba, it didn't work in Venezuela, even though Cubans and Venezuelans are Venezuelans. But like in Scandinavia, it worked. So I don't know,
well,
like there's this, when they trick you with socialism, people have to. I think we have to inspect socialism a little bit more. We could probably make a topic on that, but I think we need to get into what socialism is.
well,
Why do people fall for it? What types of, because I think it really, to have socialism, it only takes two type of people to agree to socialism, and that's givers and receivers. Where are those balloons?
what's all that? Got the feds watching us.
It's not my birthday today, but
Your birthday?
no, it's not.
Okay, so it's,
What was that?
it's an economic theory of social organization that advocates the means of production, distribution, and exchange should be owned and regulated by a community as a whole.
You're reading
Yeah,
socialism?
that's the definition of
I'm
social.
sorry, read that again.
A political and economic theory of social organization that advocates that the means of production, distribution, and exchange, i.e., economy, should be owned or regulated by the community as a whole.
Yeah, so that's how they trick people typically because, oh, everybody eats, everybody gets a piece of the pie. You know, that's
That's not that's
that saying, everybody eats.
yeah, that's not natural.
That's yeah, that's the biggest gimmick, I'll say, within socialism.
That's not natural because on a micro level, every family is a socialist. Every family has a socialist system running
Structure,
because
exactly.
you have you have you have you have a worker, and then you have subordinates under you that you have to distribute resources to, for a time being. You know, so that's the problem. When you have socialism, people, you might have lazy people that opt not to work,
Exactly.
and
Here
and
in
that's
America.
going to be a drain on on the people that actually work, on the
Exactly.
producers. And that's evil. That's
That's
stealing.
stealing.
If you,
And that's here in
yeah,
America. That's what I'm
if you don't work,
saying. But in Scandinavia, put it like they were all family. That's you kind of making it easier for me to explain. In Scandinavia, like in Sweden, Denmark, these countries, they're a family, if that makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah,
So
they have,
they had a structure, they
yeah,
had their culture, and it's exclusive to them. And they have less population over there than we do here, if you understand what I'm
yeah.
saying. So it's like, but here you take your Nigerian scammers, you take your curry Indians, you take it's just what
you, you,
what
you,
but you
you all right with me? That's all I got to say. You cool? You cool?
but you mix that together, is it a good mix? Like I wish as Americans, I mean, you would think as big as the food and beverage, like the restaurant industry is, that's what kind of brings us together, right? Like, oh, Jamaican food, Mexican food, Chinese food, and so on and so forth. You would think because these are all cultural. Wait,
Chinese,
what do you mean? What do you mean? No.
Chinese food ain't gonna bring me nowhere but the hospital.
Oh, I don't eat Chinese food.
Okay,
I
yeah,
eat Thai food, but I don't eat
yeah.
Chinese food.
I don't eat any kind of Asian food.
You don't?
Never, nah. I mean, I don't. The first time there's this restaurant in Houston named Timmy Chan's, and when I came to Houston to go to college when I was like 19, 18, 19, my homeboy was like, man, you need to come to Timmy Chan's, man. Timmy Chan's is the way to go. So I ate Timmy Chan's. I had the blues for a week. Like I was just, it was the worst feeling. I felt like the life just being sucked out of me. I mean, it was bad. Like it tore my stomach. I couldn't breathe.
I know
And
that happened to me too with Chinese food when I was in the eighth grade and I couldn't go to school for a few days.
yeah,
Like I was at a Chinese buffet with
yeah,
my family, and the next thing I had the flu. It was you
yeah,
talk about COVID like that. That must have like that Chinese restaurant
yeah.
gave me COVID.
That's what they. That's what they say. That was the China virus. Yeah,
And this was like back in 2002 2003. So
yeah.
that was like I don't eat Chinese food.
Nah, me
I
neither.
don't eat Chinese food.
I don't.
So no, but what I was saying though, like you would think through the restaurant industry, you
Mhm.
would think like, okay, Jamaican food, Mexican food, whatever country, you would think that brings us together in a more peaceful, better type of a way. But
It,
no,
well, see, food is cultural and it's intimate. For instance,
exactly.
like let's say you brought me to your house, right? Your mom's house. You're like, hey, this is my friend, DaRealIceO. He's a good person. Since like I would think that she'd be like, okay, well, she'll probably cook me Ethiopian food, and she probably prepare the best dish because it's a sign of acceptance. When you cook your food for people, and then you eat together. That's an intimate thing.
And
So
that's
yeah.
what I'm saying. I would have thought these like here in America, like people from all these different like Europe, Africa, Asia, Latin America, I would have thought like food and going on to what you're saying, like it would make us more, oh, we're a melting pot and we have different cultures. But you know what? People get so caught up in America with race and colorism that they don't understand that culture is really at the core of everything.
Well, at the end of the day, as a country, we have to have identifying principles or unifying principles that make us Americans.
So what is our identity
We don't
as Americans?
we don't have one anymore. That's what I'm saying.
What
Like
was
we
it
we
before.
It was hard work, pride, integrity, pride in country, God, the exaltation of godly principles. Um, what else? Honesty, and then we just
Was
became,
liberty and justice for all?
yeah, yeah, all that, respect of people's,
Liberty.
in, individuality, but, still, still, still having the presence of mind to, to have somebody else's welfare in mind, not just, letting your neighbors suffer.